I'm going to go over a couple things that we are supposed to do at the beginning of every year, but we forget that we do them every year because it doesn't take that long and we don't remember how to do them until we're told. So, gradebook setup and standards. I did sit down with a couple departments, so if you're a lucky department that asked me to come sit with you, then you probably have done this. But you can sit through this, it doesn't take long, and then I'm going to go over some filter options so that I don't waste your time. So, we're going to go to class standards. And in your class standards, so right now I'm looking at history, APUS, which I don't think have any standards for Mr. Halleck, so that's why he doesn't have any. If you have no data here and you know that you do have standards, just click the load standards for course from the course alignment. As soon as you click that, it'll load all of your standards in this list and you will be good to go. You don't have to hit save, nothing. But you will have to do that for every single class. So let me see if maybe another class might have standards. So there you go. So he already loaded standards and all he did was click the standards from course alignment and then all the standards showed up down here and loaded. Once you have all of those, you're good to go. You don't have to hit save or anything like that. You just have to click through every class and load your standards. So if you want to do that right now, go ahead and pause the video and make that happen. I'm going to keep going. So on the gradebook, the last thing we have to do is set up our gradebook. So gradebook setup. And make sure that you have that 90-10 split. So formative should be 10, summative should be 90. If you have different categories within summative or within formative, that's fine. If you're like, wait, how do I add those? You'll have to go to your assignment types and you'll have to start adding them. You can do new. And once these are just adding your types in this screen, once you add all your types that you need to do, you'll go back to the gradebook setup to make sure that your weight is all correct and that it equals 100% no matter what you do. All your formative should only get to 10 and all your summative should only get to 90. Make sure that you are doing this for all of your classes. I would just select all classes because that should be the same for all classes. If it's different for all classes, you can come talk to me and make sure it's right, but you can just select the couple classes that it might be different for if you're teaching way different types of classes. That's really it. Make sure your numbers add up to 100% and make sure your assignment types are in there and then make sure your standards are loaded. That's all for setting up Gradebook. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the Gradebook. Again, you can pause and actually do this right now or you can do it on your own later. And I'm going to talk just a little bit about your filters and options that you have in Phoenix. So a lot of people obviously know that these are here, but maybe not mess with them too much. So show drop students. This really all it does is if I click it, is it'll show your students that may or may not have left your class. So like if you had someone in the first quarter and they left to another class in the second quarter, you would be able to go to first quarter and see like a name of that kid down here if you showed your drop students. So if you ever need help finding a grade from last quarter, you can do that. Hide class grade, you don't want to do that. You want to show the class grade. Show total missing. So what that does is that shows the column of what's missing for each student right here. You do want that on. Show grades by type. That shows your columns formative. There is no summative yet in actually there's one. And I don't know why, oh, there's no grades in it. But if you don't have formative or summative entered yet, then it won't show up in your column. As soon as you have formatives and summatives calculated, then you'll have two columns here that you do want to turn those on. Show comment codes. So that's if you want to show X or Z, as you can see here, or all the comment codes that you have, it'll show up right here. If you turn those off, it won't show up. It'll be there, but it won't look like it's there. Assignment note entry means that you can enter a note in straight into this part without going into the enter scores section. So if I just click right here, if I had that on, then I'd be able to just add a note right there. I'll show you what it looks like. So now I can add a note for this kid right here. And I'm going to turn that back off. That's your choice. You can turn it on or off, but this isn't my gradebook, so I'm going to leave it how I found it. Student ID, that's really your choice. If you want the student ID to show up on that left-hand side, that's fine. Show attendance on due date. So what that means, if I put an assignment in on a due date, Let's see if we have any kids that were absent. Actually, Mr. Halleck's classes just have perfect attendance. That's how that works. Let's see if I can go back a little bit and find one. Nope, I don't see any. So what that means is if a kid was absent on, let's say this one was due the 6th and this student was absent, it would put a little yellow box around that day letting you know that he was absent then. Section ID is only the class section. You really don't need that either. And course name if you want it, but you pretty much know what your courses are. That's going to be your intro to World and all that. Show comments. You would like that normal. Whoops. Band. So this band thing might be a little overwhelming or it could be awesome. What the band does is, let's say this was 10 points. Everybody with a 10 is going to be in green on this assignment. Obviously I didn't set it up, so it's not going to happen now. A 6 out of 10, so that, as you can, well, you can't see it right there. 6 out of 10 would show up a different color, whatever color you set it to be. So essentially what I would do, or what I have done in the past, is made A's green, B's like whatever, yellow or something, C's orange, D's, well, I don't know, brown or something, and F's red. And what that does is it'll color your grade book. So you can kind of see right away when you're looking through it without having to calculate any numbers. Hey, my kids did really good on this assignment looking down, or hey, a bunch of people are missing this assignment because I see it all red or didn't do well on it, or whatever. You can do a quick kind of analysis on an assignment that way. Your row size, that's just the size of your text and things like that. This 60%, what this does is say if anybody over here has less than 60%, or I think it's 60 or less to be honest, then it'll turn up red for you, so you can kind of see where a kid might be in trouble. You can change this to whatever you'd like, if you'd like to make it a 70 or lower, so you can catch those kids before they drop down too far. Sort kids, that's fine. Assignment order, this is the other one. They changed the way that this already was, but essentially what this is that you can do, whoops, your oldest to newest is going to have, so if you see Mr. Halleck's gradebook, August started here and then his newest assignments go this way. Some people don't like to scroll all the way every time they want to see a new assignment, so they'll order it from newest to oldest. And what that does is add the very last most recent one starts here, and everything else that's most recent will keep going in front of this one. So your older ones will just keep moving to the back and you won't have to scroll every time you want to do that. Again, I think Mr. Halleck wants it that way, but I'm going to change it back because I'm going to leave it how I found it. All right, so those are just the filters for now. That's the first session. Make sure you do your what are they called? Standards. Make sure you do your gradebook setup and have your numbers correct, and then you can play with some filters, and I would be happy to help you and look through some things if you want me to. Let me know.